Introduce our speaker this evening, Kelly H. from Claremont.
A little punk rock. I'm Kelly. I'm an alcoholic. And thank you, friends. Thank you, Scott, for my chip and for my travel buddies and Dawnette. So good to see you. And thank you for inviting me back here. And I'm excited. Congratulations, Kyle, Nisana. Happy birthday. Congratulations to the new guys that got up. One guy stood up at first. I would never have stood up in this meeting. Absolutely not. You're so courageous. I hope that you find that what we have found here. And yeah, I'm pretty tired. We came up last night, Tammy and I didn't sleep much. And so, if I'm a little unhinged, I'm sorry. Talk to Scott. I know you had Tom Phelan last week. I didn't do anything to any utilities, but I did get electrocuted really bad one time. Really bad. I was turning on the jacuzzi. I was soaking wet, and I'm like, I didn't tell anybody. I knew I'd be in trouble for that. Anyway, God, I'm alcoholic through and through. I feel like my whole pitch is qualifying, drunk and sober. And I swear, it's like, let's just put it this way. When I was born, my mom called my dad at Dawnette's dad's bar, and said, the baby's coming. So here we are out the chute, growing up in bars. And my dad worked for the Red Onion, and all I ever wanted to do was get on the dance floor. And if you came to my house, the first thing at the door was a hug and a kiss, and what can I get you to drink? And I, of course, was like a toddler bartender. I'll bring you, I'm gonna take a sip, And my dad drank vodka on the rocks, and it was like a, stir, and then you dip your finger in, and it's just so spicy. And, I was a little tiny, and I loved the way that it burned. I didn't take a big old gulp or anything, but just enough. And I also knew, how agitated everybody was, walking in the door, and then making a drink, a scotch and soda. My mom drinks scotch and soda, and whatever it did for her, I was like, we don't even talk to her until whatever that happens. And I try to not even be in the room, because I was on the receiving end of a lot of frustration in her life, which God bless her. Anyway, she was a good wife and a mother, but she was a wonderful grandmother. I will say that. Anyway. It was really stressful, when you own a business like a restaurant or a bar or whatever. My dad opened Pancho and Wong's and Redondo Beach, and he was really married to his work. If we were going to see my dad, we were going to go to the restaurant, and that's just how it was. And I saw what was going on. There's live music, and I'm still live music in a cantina with chips and salsa, I'm in my happy place. That is my jam right there. And I started hostessing for my dad. I was 9 years old, and at the end of my shift, I would play Miss Pac-Man and, have something to eat. And everybody was so nice to me. And I learned a really good work ethic. My dad worked really hard his whole life. But I really saw what was going on. And I had my own stuff going on at home, so I'm pretty unsupervised. I was very unsupervised. My mom was a flight attendant, and so we had a live-in housekeeper. And I think by the time I was 10, it was, cocktails, time to have cocktails with friends on holidays. But before that, even, I would get a cough. Every time I traveled with my family, we would go to Iuka, Mississippi. It was flying all day, third week of June on a pass, which means all day at the airport. Sometimes we're stuck in Texas for 48 hours. And by the time we get to our final destination, my grandmother made her own cough syrup from whiskey and rock candy and maybe something else. I'm not sure what else. But it was so delicious. I mean, I was a big Robitussin and Sucrets and like, Chloroseptic spray, I'm one of those, until you're totally numb. And my friends are like, you're so weird. I was like, try this. They're like, it's gross. I'm like, who cares if it's gross? It gives you an effect, But anyway, I get to my grandmother's and I would always have a cough. It's like psychosomatic. I would always have a cough. My mom would say, God, we got to have to pack the cough medicine because every time we travel, Kelly gets a cough. And I would be like, oh, it's because we're in an airplane, it's like a germ bubble. Anyway, but they were really stressful. My parents were very stressful. I have a little brother. He's 5 years younger than I am. And anyway, so they're at work and I'm at home unsupervised. And so, I like to drink. And once you get into like 7th, 8th grade and you party and all the boys would come to my house because I was unsupervised. I even one time had a housekeeper from Sweden who watered the grass in her bathing suit with no top. I'm serious. It was like, and I lived on a private street, so you couldn't just like ride your bike by my house. You were like, turn around, like in a circle, waiting for Vicky to water the lawn. She got yelled at by a lifeguard at the beach. It was so embarrassing. Oh my God. But anyway, so we partied at my house and I lived on this bridle trail and it was, as long as you didn't drink the scotch or the vodka and never put water in the vodka that's in the freezer. Like that, somebody had to guard the freezer because some idiot would get us in trouble. Because my dad's Stoli came right out of the freezer. And so if you steal it and you put water in it, it freezes. Anyway, that was like the only rule. And I know, someone had to be in charge of that. But it was a lot of fun, growing up like that. And then, of course, I had a boyfriend. I went to parties and it was in the 80s. And he started smoking crack. It was terrible. It was just awful. It just ruins the whole party. It just wasn't fun anymore, And I'm like, why can't you just chill? Like we had a nitrous tank in our apartment. Why do you have to go smoke crack in Wilmington? And the bathroom at Jack in the Box is filthy. It's disgusting. I am not doing that. No, absolutely not. And so that relationship was, terrible. And, seeing someone that you love and who was so fun go down the hole, still down the hole. And as a matter of fact, we used to run away and we used to come to his uncle's house. And they lived in Ventura off a Telegraph. And that's what the exit. And I was like, oh my gosh, I was like 16 years old. And he would steal stuff and I would return it so we could have some cash for a hotel room and a hot roasted chicken. That was like my favorite thing. He put one in his pants once. I burned him all up. But he loved me so much. I got a hot chicken. I want some hot chicken. All I could afford was the 99-cent loaf of bread from Albertsons, but I wanted that hot chicken, you know what I mean? And he was always in trouble. But anyway, so he moved away to go get sober and, knock some girl up and whatever, heartbreak. And then, I had a different boyfriend and I like to party, I'm fun. I am. I was fun. And unless you were in love with me, it was a little rough. And because it'd be like, oh, where am I? I definitely am one of those girls that needed the balloon. That trick, every time I see that, I'm like, that would have been so smart. You could have just, there she is, over there. She's about to get in that person's car. Go get her. Because, no pagers, no, phones. You're lost. I've been walking down the street I have no idea where I am. Go to a gas station. Oh my gosh, what city is this? Anyway, but then that boyfriend started doing weird stuff. 3 a.m, he's out in the yard putting up light fixtures. That's a sign. Tweaker, run. That is why stuff's so weird all the time. And he was always questioning me and I'm a Gemini. I don't know who I was talking to. I don't know where I was. You never know what you're going to get. So that was a terrible ending also, really, really bad. And now I think I'm 21 and I'm a mess. My dad, that restaurant, the bouncer, when I was 18, he threw a guy out 3 times. And the 3rd time he pushed him and he fell and he hit his head and he cracked his skull and bled. And by the time he got to the hospital, he was in a coma and he died. And it was awful, and the bouncer, like, he went to jail, he pled no contest, like, he was really just, it was just a really hard time for our family. It was like during the 90s financial crisis, the late 80s, like 1990, and I started having panic attacks, like the kind where you cannot leave the house, you can't eat anything. I mean, my diet consisted of like macaroni and cheese and mashed potatoes, and I didn't know what was wrong with me. I kept going to the emergency room, and they kept telling me I was fine. I was like 18, and my dad lost the restaurant, and my parents lost their house, and everybody was like homeless, living different places, and I was 18, so it was like time for me to just get a job and act right or do whatever 18-year-olds do. I didn't get to go to college, and I was a really smart kid, I mean, I went to continuation school. I went to the police department for counseling with Diane Pales from 7th grade until senior. But before that, I was in GATE. You know what I mean? Like, I could program everyone's VCR on the block. They'd be like, oh, we'll send Kelly over. She can tape your shows. She knows how to set the timer and da-da-da. And I was like 8, I was smart. And yeah, because someone made the mistake of saying that boys are smarter than girls. Boys are smarter than girls at math. And I was like, okay. I went home and studied math like crazy, and nobody could beat me at this one game in math. Anyway, so now I can't keep a job. I work at a bank. I'm having panic attacks. I don't know what's wrong with me, but what happens is when you drink before you leave the house, it helps. Like, I didn't know what was wrong with me, but I just would like have a beer or, a screwdriver. It's like breakfast food, Greyhound, little grapefruit juice, some toast. And, I was good to go, but it's really hard to keep a job when you have, I was born like the kind of alcoholic that, like, if I'm drinking this, I'm drinking, that's all I'm doing. I'm not doing anything else. I'm not going to work and pulling something out of my desk job, like, I am not that kind of alcoholic. I can really only work as a waitress or in bars. So that's what I did. I had anxiety. I could work in bars. My parents were split up, which was fine because my mom put up with a lot of crap for a long, long time, and she took it out on me. So it was fine with me that they were, everybody was going their own way. But it was really hard to support myself. Like, you can get a job, but you can't keep a job, and I drink at this dive bar, and I'm there one day and seeing one of my bartenders, hanging out. And I don't usually come that early in the daytime, but that day I was there, and this guy was parked right in front of the door, like right in front of the bar door, like blocking the door, like you have to walk, So I look in, and there's a little kid in this car seat, like facing front. It's the 90s. Facing front in the car seat. He's like 2 years old, 2.5 years old, so cute. And I was like, oh my God, who is that guy? Whose kid is that? And this guy, John, who I had never met, which, it was the Hangar Inn on Aviation, dive bar. So I pretty much intimately knew everyone, you know what I mean? So who was the new guy? Like, I'd never seen him before, and so I, found out that he like has a job, and he's there for his after-work schooner. He does electrical work and da-da-da, and he was really cute. And so I put my phone number on his car because, of course, I have trouble at home because I broke into my boyfriend's desk because I knew he had some cocaine in there, and he was out of town, and I found his pipe because he was smoking speed, and I knew something was wrong. I knew something was up. So there was trouble at home. I knew it was like just a matter of time. I had to get away from this situation. So I had put my phone number on this guy's car, and he called me, and we went to Monday Night Football, and just a few weeks later, we're living together because, of course, I had to break up with that other guy because he was really suspicious because, when you're actually doing something, they're really onto you. You know what I mean? It's so hard to keep straight. Oh my God, the best part of being sober is never having to lie. I don't know about you, but lying is so exhausting. remembering all the crap you said. Oh, who cares? Who cares? Oh my God. Be mad at me. You're going to be mad at me anyway. That's like my number one defense. Anyway, so I move in with this guy who seems so normal. And, right away I'm pregnant. Oh my God. So now I have to like act right. My mom's like, have a baby, act normal, have a good life. He's got a nice family. They're, Scandinavian. They're super nice. And, they from Norway. So they're just, they're nice people from Manhattan Beach. And he has an education and he has a job, which is also an improvement from some of the relationships I had been having. And entrepreneurs, tweakers. Anyway. Sorry, I hope I'm not offending you. I have offended some tweakers in meetings before, but it's all right. It's okay. So I married him. I knew it was a terrible idea, but I got fired from my job. I was pregnant and I was so hungover and sick, and I'm like one of those people that's like, how every time I go to the doctor for some birth control, I'm already pregnant. Oh my God. It's like every time. So I know. It's like, do I have 2 uteruses? How does this keep happening? People are like, you know how that happens. And I was like, clearly not. Like, I did not ever want to get married. And I for sure didn't want to have kids. Like, I knew kids were a terrible idea. My mom made sure I knew what a pain in the ass I was all the time, and how, like, when you have kids and by, I don't know how old I was, but you're going to turn out just like your mother. That's the worst part. Oh my God. So then I have one, I'm on a roll. I had to get a minivan after that. I for sure thought I needed to leave my husband because I hated him. He was going to the bar like, how dare you? I've been at home all day. I did the grocery store. I did your laundry. I cleaned the kitchen. And you get to go to the bar and all you did was go to work all day? Like, it's way harder, huh, ladies, to be home with those kids. Because you know what? They want to eat all day. You just cleaned up. And they're like, can I have a snack? Oh my God, I just got done cleaning up from the last time I fed you. And then diapers, I had 2 in diapers. It was awful. I needed a minivan. My son played every sport. My favorite thing was the snack bar. I'm not gonna lie, I did love working in the snack bar. I love Taco Boat. It's my favorite thing ever. Anyway, that was like my favorite part of parenting. But I was super pissed I was 28 years old. I got 3 kids, a minivan. I am trapped. And I am very feral. Like, I don't like to sleep in my own bed every night. Still. And my husband thought, like, he just, treated me like, you signed up for this. And I did not like that kind of attitude. And so, as soon as I could get out of the house, they had a little intervention because I, was kind of going crazy a little bit. And they had an intervention and they said, Kelly just needs a job. I love when they talk about me like that. Like I'm not in the room. Okay. And I just go with it because if my mom comes to do the rescue, that means that she's going to help pay for someone to clean the house with me. She's going to help me get organized. She's going to go to Costco and she's going to do all the mom jobs because I am not that good. And I also hate it. And I also can't wait to drink until 4 o'clock. Like, it's a really long day if you have to wait till 4 o'clock when you get all the kids at home to start drinking, like really drinking. You can have 1 drink before you go, pick them up. But if you get caught with your kids, bad, really bad. Then you have to go to AA. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants that. Very serious. I would be like, tell my husband, you can't be drinking in the car on the way home from work. It's like $5,000 to get a DUI, get a ticket. That's crazy. How much is it now? It's like 20 grand. Anyway, so everything was kind of, but I tried so hard. Like my first baby, I had her in the bathtub, like no drugs. Like, oh my God, I was the first one to grab her and, feed her. I nursed her and I was like, oh my God, this is why I'm a person. This is why. I always wondered, like, why am I even on this planet? My mom hates me. Like, I'm always in trouble. I'm that kid literally that, like, has the sign, like, oh, here comes trouble. My dad's accountant still says that to me. I'm like, I'm 53, Howard. You know, like, here comes trouble. Yeah, I couldn't find trouble with binoculars. It's kind of pathetic. Anyway, except for, my own kids. But anyway, so I have a whole bunch of kids, and then I gotta go. Like, I have to get out of this marriage. I tell my husband I need a divorce, and he's like, no. I didn't know you could just say no. And I was like, well, what am I gonna do? I have no power. I have no money. I have no leverage. I have all these kids. And, I'm a slave to the patriarchy, really. So what am I going to do? So I just blow it all up. Everybody's selling the house. We're selling the cars. We're moving. And he's going to have those kids on the weekends. And I'm going to just drink and behave the way that I like to have the freedom that I need. And then it's going to be fine. And guess what? I guess you already know because I'm your speaker tonight. 6 weeks. 6 weeks. It was worse. It was worse. I got rid of my husband. It was worse. I could not believe it. I thought for sure he was my problem, and he was having the problem with the drinking. I was not having a problem with the drinking. And we went on a trip to Catalina. Of course, my mom paid for it, all the kids, and I'm out. I have a boyfriend. The whole last year of my drinking, we hated each other too, and he drove me home like twice, and then that was it. He was my boyfriend after that because I need a driver. I am a very, very thirsty girl, and I can't do cocaine like I used to. I don't know about you guys, but those hangovers were like 4 days. Like, that's no good. I just can't do it. But so someone's going to have to drive me because I'm for sure going to fall down and get lost. And I've ended up in some weird places. Bad things have happened to me too. So I need a handler. And, it's a trade, whatever. I don't have any money. And seriously, I can't afford to drink the way that I drink either. And, he was just terrible, too. He'd just be nagging me, oh, stop flirting with the bartender. Like, how do you get a drink? You got to flirt with the bartender. So it's packed in here. Dummy. It's like, don't tell me not to flirt with the bartender. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. The only man that's ever said, don't flirt with the bartender. Like, this guy's not really an alcoholic, I think. I was like, okay, we're just going to wait all night for you to get us drinks. No. Anyway, I fell down and said, he pushed me. So he's like watching, like yelling at me out the window. Pop, 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 pop. And I was like, come here, bartender. Come talk to me some more. Anyway, I was a terrible, terrible girlfriend. I was a worse wife. And then I'd go home and, because you can't stay drunk. And then I have these kids at home, and I work in the classroom, and I drive a minivan, and I have other mom friends. So, like, there's that Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. Like, I want to be a good person. I am a good person. I don't know why this is not for me. I don't know. I have no idea that alcoholism centers in my mind, and the solution for me for all the things that I want to not care so much about is drinking. How I can go out in the world, the anxiety that I have when I wake up in the morning, and why I hate myself by the time I come to you. I absolutely have no idea. Like, I had the baby in the bathtub. I was going to be the best mom ever. I went to the nurse league groups. You know what I mean? Like, I was serious about it. I was going to make the food, make the baby food, all of it. And when I drink, I am a completely different person, and I really did think it was because I was a Gemini. I am so grateful that when I came to Alcoholics Anonymous, it was last week, I'm on this trip with my mom. The kids are so little, 2, 4, and 9, and she's like, what's wrong with you? You're ruining this trip. Your kids are here asleep, and I don't know why. I have to go to the Chi-Chi Club, even though I made my cousins promise me they wouldn't leave me there. They're like, we're leaving. It's 10-something at 10:30 at night, and they're going fishing in the morning. Like, I was like, please don't leave me here. And I would not go with them. They were like, okay, weirdo. Like, who are you? I've known these kids my whole life. So there's Lisa on our trip. She made amends to my mom, and she got reinvited, and she was going to Alcoholics Anonymous every night in Avalon. And Lisa was different. You know, the last time I saw Lisa, she was not good. And my mom and her friends had an intervention because Lisa was stealing their pills. Is that funny? From their bathrooms. So if you had Lisa over, you had to hide your pills. So they're drinking and have an intervention on Lisa. Lisa is like, screw you, biatches. Like, I cannot believe you drunken alcoholics are having an intervention because I'm stealing your pills. You know, like they have a lot of pills. It's hilarious. Do you want to be the pot or the kettle? Anyway, so Lisa was so mad at my mom. Like, how dare you, you know? And so, of course, she sees she needs to make amends to my mom. She finally gets sober, and my mom's, of course, on her list, and she runs into her everywhere. You know, the post office, the restaurant, here, driving down the street. So fine. She makes amends to my mom, and she gets reinvited on these trips, and I see her. She's a perfect example. She's reading the daily reflections and talking to her sponsees in the morning, and so I'm outside drinking coffee with her and, you know, smoking a cigarette, and I'm like, yeah, you know, I never heard it called resentments before, you know. I was like, wow. Huh. And so she starts telling me about these things, and I'm thinking, yeah, I got a few of those, you know. And she said, you know, if you ever want to go to a meeting, call me. Of course. Like, you're doing great. Like, I know people that have gone to AA and got sober. It's amazing. It's good on you, you know. I will. I'll call you. And you know what happened? I had been praying leading up to that for about a year. God help me, I can't keep doing this. I don't know why I'm doing this. Negotiating every chapter 3 thing that you can think of. I'll bring home some food from work. I promise I won't stay out all night. My poor husband is like tortured. I walk in one day and one of my little kids, my youngest daughter's crying, and he's like, what are you crying for? You know, she doesn't love us. Because I was missing. I don't know what happens. I go to work and I'm gone for 3 days. And I work in the classroom. Like, that's where I really want to be. But I don't know that once I start drinking, I can't do it. I can't show up for it. So one more bad night. Not the worst one, for sure. I could have gotten sober in high school. One more bad night. After I'd already been praying the prayers, and I heard in my head, call Lisa. So I called her and I told her, I don't ever want to drink again, and I'm going to do it tomorrow. I took a Vicodin today. I'm going to have some root beer. I might put some ice cream in it and some chili cheese fries probably today, because that will make me not feel hungover. I don't know why, but that's the trick. A Vicodin from the dentist, you know. My husband's Vicodin from the dentist. You know, I already took all mine. But Vicodins are great for a headache, you know? Like, I don't need to take a whole bunch of them, but they're great for a headache. They really work. I mean, my hangovers were so bad. Like, my 18-month-old, like, the day she turned 18 months, she went to school. So sometime before that, I used to put her in the high chair with nail polish so she could paint her nails. And she really took that serious. She was very into it. Took her like an hour. I could get a really good nap. Anyway, that's like where we were at. So I call Lisa, and she says, can you meet me at a meeting? Not today, but tomorrow. Yes, I can. It's a noon meeting. I can stay sober until noon. And I go to the Hermosa Beach Alano Club, and there's Rick. He's got the literature, you know, and they're like, whatever's happening in the room, I don't really understand it, but I felt it. You know, like I felt it tonight, that settling down that happens to chapter 5. I mean, it was not as enthusiastic and lovely and like yummy as this meeting tonight, because it was a noon meeting. There was about 7 people there. And, you know, but I felt it, whatever that thing is that happens. And so I got a directory for the club. And that club had a ton of meetings every week. And they circled the meetings to go to the next day. On Friday, there was a noon meeting, a women's meeting in the back room. And they read the 12 and 12. Okay. I was invited, so I'm going, you know. So I go the next day to the women's meeting, and oh my God, those ladies, they read some stuff. I have no idea. I'm not reading. I'm about to pass out. You know what I mean? I need a brown bag. Like, oh no, reading of a paragraph for this girl. I got to go to the bathroom now. I think I'm going to throw up. But I heard the sharing, and I loved the sharing. I loved that the women talked about things like how hard it was to be a mom. I was like, oh my God, these ladies, like, how do you get them with their shoes and socks on and get them to school on time? I have no idea. Like, why? What's that sock thing? What's that line inside the sock? I have one of those kids that the sock is always wrong and she won't leave her shoe on. And I'm like, we are late every day, and like, oh my God, I forgot their lunch. And it's so hard. I don't know why it's so hard, but those ladies know why it's so hard. And they didn't drink at stuff like Charlotte. She had a plumbing problem, and the plumber shamed her and told her not to put tampons in the toilet again. And she went off on him in the whole street in front of the neighbors in her pajamas. And I just was laughing so hard. I don't know, like I had not laughed that hard. And she was like, and I had the stupid cookie commitment. So here I am, like I gotta stop yelling at the plumber to get the cookies to the meeting. And I couldn't wait every time Charlotte was gonna share, because see, now I would drink at that plumber. I'd have gotten his card. I mean, it would have been a whole thing. You know what I'm saying? Me and the plumber. And that she said that, like, she's been restored to sanity, basically. Like, she is going to come to the meeting and, do her commitment, and commitment save your life around here. And Tuesday, they made me the coffee girl. And you know how serious that is. Like, a lot of people cannot show up to an AA meeting at noon, but not the coffee person. Thank God. I right away knew this is a real serious deal. I got to be here. I got to be here early. I got to get the coffee. I got to get the creamer. I got to get the knife for the cake. It was a big job. And it really saved my life. I got sober on August 3rd, 2004. It was really hot out. I was working for my dad. He had a little restaurant, Louis Louise, and it was right on the water and at the pier. And I don't know, I got in a fight with my dad, or he did something to piss me off. I mean, everyone was pissing me off. My husband, everybody. Like, why do they get to drink? Oh, rude. But I already knew I could not do it. I could not do it, but I was still bitter that they could. And there were these 3 guys at a 4-top sitting on the pier drinking beer, and it looked really good. But you know what I had? The coffee commitment. I was like, oh my God, I was in a, like, focused here, and then I was like, oh my God, I have the coffee commitment. I gotta go. And I ran to the coffee commitment. All those little things that they say, like Kyle was talking about, those cliches. Oh my God, they're so cheesy. But have you been to a dance yet at an Alano club? Nope, I went too soon. I was like, Halloween. I got sober in August, and I was like, never. Please don't ever do that to me again. No. Disco ball. TLC. Oh, no. You've been there. Oh, no. Anyway, so I did the things, and I had terrible anxiety. My sponsor said, Lisa, she was my sponsor, she said, if you read the books and work the steps, read these pages, come to my house, we'll read them again, write down any questions you have in the margin, underline the things that resonate with you, and that's the cure for anxiety. And you can read the stories in the back of the book if you can't sleep. And so I read the whole book. Read the whole book. And it was amazing. The book is amazing. Oh, I really highly suggest the 12 and 12 as well. I mean, wow, like, how do they know all that stuff? And then she said, you're going to do your inventory, like, how it is. And I don't know any different. I've never been to AA before except to, support some guy. I'm not listening. But inventory means and she tells me I'm going to write down who it is, what it is, and then just wait there, and then we'll do the 3rd and 4th column. And then I was so excited because I've been in therapy since forever. I was at the police department with Diane Pales. She was my counselor, trying to help me manage and control my drinking and deal with my alcoholic parents my whole life. So I was like, oh yeah, I'll write it down. I had like 20 pages on my husband. Oh man, it was so good. And my mom, 12 pages, 8 pages on my dad. I wrote it all down. I was so excited. Oh, I went to outpatient. I went to Thelma McMillan. It was 9 months. I did all the things because I did not want to feel the way that I felt. And the things that those slogans and all those things that you would hear, like, you can stay here for 90 days or a year. And if it doesn't work out, we'll refund your misery. I was like, I did not want what I had. I really was clear that the women in the women's meetings that had a struggle with the day-to-day, and they could come and tell the truth about it and how they stayed sober, like I needed that because I felt so much better when I was not drinking. Just physically better. I was 31. I even now, I run circles around that person that came here. I was so tired. But everything started feeling better. Plus, I wasn't creating all these fires, My husband, my poor husband, he was such a really good man, and he did not deserve, he wasn't a great husband, but we were kids, We're both alcoholics. Like, where do you think I met him? Parked in front of the bar door. I'm like, oh, look at this guy. He loves his kid. For real, that's what I thought. Like, look at this guy, he's a great dad. I'm sure of it, because my dad took me to the bar, and he's great, not great. My dad didn't know how to run the dishwasher when my mom finally left him. So anyway, here I am in AA and doing all the things, and I reconciled with my husband. I did not ever call that boyfriend ever again. It was amazing. Like, I just never called him again. It was amazing. And I promised my husband a lot of times that I would never call him again. And I don't even know if I called him or if he just found me at the bars I was at. But anyway, when I was sober, I didn't ever talk to him again. It was amazing. And my husband had a surgery when I was sober 9 months, and he had a diverticulitis. And he went home and returned to the emergency room and had a grand mal seizure and cardiac arrest. And, I was 31 years old. Our kids were, 3, 5, and 10. And 31 days of every kind of test, every kind of procedure, everything. And I had to terminate his life support. And I was sober 10 months in AA. And I was so grateful that, I had all those women from the meeting. I already had the commitments. Like, I belong to you. I worked the steps. I did that 3rd step prayer, and I really thought I was turning my will and my life over to this. I belong to you. And it has served me well. I know people do the 3rd step every day. I really felt like that day when I prayed with my sponsor that what I was doing was really now I do this. I go to AA. I don't do the bars and the crazy things, and I don't have to act like that. And also, when I did the inventory and I read it to my sponsor, and she wrote down my 6th step, really, my 6th step is answering that, never-ending question of, what is wrong with you? Why do you do this? You have everything going, da-da-da, you're so smart, you're this, you have a potential. What is wrong with you? Why do you da-da-da? And I don't know why. The answer is, I don't know. Where were you? I don't know. And the 6th step tells me, when I'm sitting there with my sponsor, she's telling me these are my character defects, and these are the ways that I try to stay safe in the world. In a world where I don't feel safe. This is me. This is my defenses. This is how I act out. And I don't have to do that anymore. And I'm going to pray to ask God to remove it, and we're going to do this contrary action. Oh my God, that's amazing. One time I called my sponsor, I had so many things to tell her. Nobody was doing it my way. Nobody. And she told me all this stuff, and she was like, how about if you do nothing? I never heard of that. Never in my life, and I'm not even kidding. I had never, ever heard of that. I'm a doer. It's a take action, into action. No, it was have you made your bed? Why don't you make your bed and start a load of laundry and call me back? I don't know why that works. It works, though. It really does. there's something, I hear people all the time, oh, by the grace of God, when someone dies or someone doesn't, that the whole thing, and it really made me feel confused. And to me, it's like, the grace of God is everywhere present. It's like the hose, the water, the hose is turned on, but I'm parked on the hose. That's like God's grace. It's coming out. Sometimes I'm stepping on the hose. You know what I mean? It's everywhere all the time. I just have to avail myself to it. And if I don't act on those impulses to say that horrible thing, or I wanted to drink, my husband died, I would come to the meeting, and I would have my fist in there in my solar plexus. I just could barely take a breath. And I'm going to drink tomorrow. If today doesn't get any better, I'm drinking tomorrow. But I never had to do it. And Uncle Phil, one of the coffee bar attendants, he had a sign at the coffee bar. It said, "Free beer tomorrow." I was like, "Oh, you're so clever. It's always going to be tomorrow." He's like, "Yeah, such a genius, Anyway, right away after my husband died, I had to move, and I had a huge fellowship around me, people coming to my house, the AA, blah, 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 crazy. But, you could get the girl out of the bar, but it takes a little while to get the bar out of the girl, you know what I'm saying? So anyway, there's a lot of weird, behavior. Anyway, I got knocked right up is really what I want to say. I knocked right up. The mover came. I don't know what happened that day. Packing tape. You know what I didn't have? Birth control. Again. So I'm pregnant, and oh my God, my husband just died. And people in AA are so funny. And they're so judgy. Hilarious. Like people at the coffee bar are like, "Oh, that's not her husband just died, and that's not his baby." I'm like, "I can hear your face, I'm wrapping it up. But anyway, I had a little girl named Savannah, and she'll be 20 this year. She was born early, and that relationship was so much chaos and violence. And anyway, she has a brain injury, and she's in a wheelchair, and she's in a diaper, and she just had her wrist fused 2 weeks ago, and I'm her mom. I have shown up for every specialty appointment: neurology, orthopedic, GI, she's a feeding tube, she's on a blenderized diet. I have shown up to all the IEP meetings and the IFSP at the regional center and the CCS and the bureaucracy, and I've gone to college. This is my 16th year of college, and when I'm done, I'll be a doctor, not like a medical doctor, but a doctor of organizational psychology. And I've been working on this caregiver problem for like 5 years, and what are we going to do, because I can't even die, there's not enough caregivers. So I go to fancy college in Claremont, that's why we live there. And Alcoholics Anonymous showed me everything, how to show up early, how to take notes, how to talk to the instructor, all those things that you need to get degrees and to make a beautiful life for yourself. And I haven't had to drink because of you guys. And she needs me, I need you more today than I did the day I got here. Thanks.
Thank you, Kelly. Let's thank Kelly again. We welcome you to return next week, and we encourage newcomers to please keep coming.